To make this into a proper mini game, we're going to need to keep score of the ships we've hit, and I'm also going to add a timer to add to the challenge. So we're creating a new node. We'll give it a title of remaining. We'll show the title. And for the state, it's going to be a text node, and I've created a node variable called timer. Now, just a quick word on these scopes. So a node variable will be available to every node, but each node will have its own value for that variable. A location variable, every node shares that, but there will be a value for each location that you're in. So you could have a percentage complete for each location, for example. Global, everybody shares the same value in every location. And then there's some special player variables as well. So we'll select this timer variable. And we'll place this below the score. Now on that, we're going to give it some more states and events. So the first state's okay, we'll duplicate that. We'll call this state running. So this is when it's actually actively counting down. And if we go into events, we'll create a state changed event. So we'll say count. And this only applies when it's in the running state. So what this will do is it will wait for a second, and then it needs to set a variable. We'll choose a variable to set. We're going to use timer. And the value we want to set that to is timer minus 1. So now we've decremented it, we can then say change node state, affecting this node to running. So it's changed it to the node state that it's already in. So what this has done is create a loop. So that'll just keep counting down. Now at some point it's going to need to stop that. So let's extend that a little now. So we've changed the variable. So above this, let's have an if statement. So if add a variable, the timer is greater than 0. So if its time is greater than 0, then we want to change to remaining to carry on running. Else, that if it's reached 0, it means we've got to the end of the game. So we're going to raise an event called end. And let's add an end if. So we're going to count down and then raise an event when we're finished. We'll also have another event. So let's have a named event for when the game starts. Because when the game starts, we need to initialize the timer. So that would be, it could be in any state really. So in this case, we're just going to set a variable and its timer. I'm going to set it to a 60 seconds. Oops. We also need to say change the node state of this node to running, so that'll make it start that counting down. Now with the score, we need to count every time we're hit by every time we hit the UFO. So let's go into events here, and we'll process a named event. So let's say we're going to have an event that's called hit. Now I'll call it score. And very simply, we're going to set a variable, choose the variable, and this is player's score. And we're going to set it to score plus 1. And similarly, at the start of the game, so on start, we need to initialize that variable. So score, oops, and that's just going to be 0. Right, now let's edit the UFO. Because we've got an event when the UFO is hit by the bomb. So we've got an overlap event. So what we also need to do, we've already raised an event called bang, but that bang happens even if you miss. That's just the bomb exploding. So before that, we'll insert another command to raise an event, and this one was called score. So that's all we need to do to update the score. Now we need something that's going to fire the event when the game starts. So we're going to talk to his boss for this. So if we click the info down below, now on here we'll put instructions. And we can give this some text, put it back and let it go. Okay, so we've got some instructions. Next, we'll manage the buttons. So if we click manage buttons, we can create a new button. We'll just call this start. And all this needs to do is raise an event. Of start. So that's going to start the timer going. If we go back into the states for this, we can create another state called playing. And let's have another one for done. So if we go into the instructions now, and go into the manage button, the start button is only relevant to the first state. But we could make it actually applicable to done as well, so you can just start the game straight away again. But you don't want to see it when you're playing. Similarly with the instructions, when you're already playing, you don't need to see the instructions. So we could go into there, and we could just again put that just to first state. So while you're playing, it won't show anything. Right, so let's add another text block, sorry. Okay, that was not bad, but see if you can do better. So this text is going to be relevant to the done, so when you finish the game. Now the other thing we've got is the spaceships flying around even before we've started the game. So let's edit the spaceship. And the first state is where it actually flies in. So we're going to create a new state for this, which is disabled. There's nothing special about this state. The order of these doesn't really matter. It's just makes logical sense to have it at the top. And that can be the default as well. It was the same as first state anyway. So that's the first one that's going to get displayed. And because all the events are based around these, that means it's not going to do anything. And I think we've already got it set to hidden at the start, so that's fine. So actually also within the UFO, we can now have an event for start. So this is relevant to when it's in the disabled state. And all this needs to do is change the node state to first state, and that'll make it appear. And we'll have another named event for end when the game's over. And on this, we're going to say stop them. So if you've got any other scripts running, you best stop them if you're in the middle of something. And we'll change the node state to disabled. So that's going to hide it when the game's not running. As well as raising the start event, we also need to change the node state of this node to playing. And also on events, on named event, when we get an end event raised and we're playing, we need to change our node state to done. That should do us. Okay, let's give it a try. So, we've started the game, no UFOs around. So we read the instructions, we click start, the countdown's going, the spaceships start coming, and we start attacking. So, list. Again. Got one. Okay, so time's nearly done. I've scored 5. Okay, that was not bad. We'll see if you can do better. So from there, we could just click start again. Resets the variables. And the ship was back. And here it comes again. Next up, we're looking at special node types and the environment that you're in as well.